Part 6. We've covered a lot of ground in this film, and you'll probably want to come back to it a number of times. I hope you do. So I'm not going to summarise. Instead, I'm going to tie things together in a positive way, with just a few reminders. Most importantly, this part carries the message that conditioning is not our fault. It'll soon become apparent why, and also why that matters. Lifting the lid on the reality of racism in the 21st century is deeply disturbing for white people. It's especially true for those who see themselves as anti-racists. What's revealed is widespread, hidden white privilege and a hidden system of white supremacy. Piercing the veil usually brings about cognitive dissonance, even in otherwise well-informed activists. Spotting this helps to deal with disbelief, and so head off the temptation to invalidate both evidence and joined-up thinking. That will avoid denial, which is not uncommonly intransigent, hostile, and not useful. I was recently introduced to the concept of percepticide, that's learned or taught blindness. The word comes from Diane Taylor, who used it to describe what she saw happening in Argentina's military dictatorship of the 1970s. People living in that psychotic culture became blind to the atrocities seen with their own eyes, because there was a danger in knowing. They were made to feel powerless to resist, and so turned the violence in on themselves through percepticide. It prevented them tearing themselves apart for doing nothing, but also prevented resistance and defiance. As far as racism is concerned, I see percepticide existing in the West, and yet there is no danger in knowing. Percepticide works by making us feel powerless through implied threats, which includes conditioned bogeyman stereotypes and also the spectre of loneliness through being ostracized by those we mix with. But this feeling of powerlessness is induced by an external force. Reclaiming power requires us to maintain 20/20 vision, meet reality head-on, and identify the manipulations, the external force. This corrects the induced blindness. So a significant part of this is inner work, learning to see again, and then working on the shadow self. And if you talk about it, then you'll also be playing a part in changing the culture. Just a quick reminder. Racist conditioning is manipulation, an external force. It acts on the subconscious mind through patterns and associations. No one enjoys learning that they're not in control of aspects of their minds, and so their behavior, such as actions, feelings, reactions, decisions, and so on. But the good news is that subconscious manipulation is very common, and you have success with overcoming it. Let me show you what you already know. Some manipulation examples. This is selling us stuff through associations. The smell of freshly baked bread in a house up for sale, or piped in a supermarket, are both encouraging you to buy. Selling products through lifestyle aspirations or sex, rather than function, are other examples. This is conscious decision-making, subverted through powerful but subtle associations. When we are aware of it, we can observe the unfolding internal processes. We notice the smell of the bread, notice the effect, and do our best to buy consciously. When unaware, we're more likely to simply follow our nose. So what can we do about it? Well, we can become aware and raise awareness. Awareness is the first step in resisting manipulation. The same is true of institutional white supremacy. Perhaps you'll now start to see it everywhere, perhaps through white privilege, though it's likely that you'll need to practice seeing it in yourself and in others. You'll also benefit from doing some research for yourself. I can only introduce the issues in an hour. My examples are far from comprehensive, especially regarding the media and education. Above all, though, we need to resist it, counter it, and call it. None of this stuff is easy. On the contrary, it's difficult. But it helps to know that unaware conditioned people are not to blame. It's not their fault. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't mean it. The problem arises when we see conditioning in ourselves. It's very hard to realize this and not feel guilty or blame ourselves. Indeed, that is part of the conditioning. To get over that hurdle, I recommend simply believing the mantra. They don't know it, it's not their fault, they can't help it. A long time ago someone said, "Forgive them, they know not what they do." So head off the guilt and the self-blame with forgiving yourself and having self-empathy. You'll soon be able to drop believing in favor of knowing. Self-empathy is liberating. Something else to hang on to is the fact that truly empowered people don't do percepticide. This will be a useful yardstick in tracing your progress. And another useful reality to remember is that white privilege is not a finite resource. It's there to be used, if you have it, as a tool for anti-racism. The bad news is that comprehension of racism without action means you're happily conditioned, knowingly doing business as usual while receiving benefits and privileges that cost others severe stress, suffering, and loss. So good luck with playing your part in ushering in change. Thank you for watching. It took courage. And I'll end with a cartoon that addresses the myth of reverse racism.